But yeah,
basically the same.
how does this start?
This is how it starts.
We talk, and at some point we decide to start the podcast.
Oh
We just kind of warm
no!
up, and then whenever we feel like we're ready to get into
My hell on
discussion,
earth!
we'll just one of us.
Well, I
will
feel
just
like that's a
introduce
good
the pod.
place to start.
Ah, crap!
Hey, but stop.
You stop. This is my intro. Welcome back to the We Don't Watch Everything podcast. Very special episode of the We Don't Watch Everything podcast.
Especially if you're watching on YouTube.
Especially if you're watching on YouTube. Especially if you're... that was dumb.
Wait,
Sorry.
whose voice was that?
Whose
That
voice?
wasn't Ben's voice.
What?
What?
We have a first.
This is also, if you're watching, this is also not where we usually do this.
I mean, maybe it is.
And yeah, if people are watching, this is the first time they've seen us.
Very
too, isn't
true.
it?
Very true. Well, anyway, this is a very special day in the history, the very brief history of the We Don't Watch Everything podcast, because for the first time, we have a guest.
Yes.
Special guest. Probably, as far as our podcast is concerned, the most special guest we could have had on.
Really?
Right. Yeah.
The guy who literally, he's the reason this podcast is made. He talked us into making it. So
Jeez.
he created this pod.
I feel like if Quentin Tarantino came on, that might be like a little bit specialer of a guest. Maybe George Lucas, you know?
Well, I mean, maybe.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad it was maybe.
At some point,
Yeah.
you know.
That
We're
makes
just going to
sense.
go this whole episode.
If we could get Mia Healy on, I'd freak out.
Yeah.
We're going to
facts.
go this whole episode without telling you who this person is.
I've
I
never
think that's the
heard
place.
of me.
Okay, everyone give a very special We Don't Watch Everything welcome to our friend of the pod,
Friend of the
Salvations
pod.
Elite.
Oh, studio audience going crazy. Woo!
Salvations Elite, may I call you Josh?
Oh, you may.
Josh?
You may.
Welcome to the pod, Josh. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to be here. Excited for you to be here as well.
It's in your house.
yes. If you are familiar with my content out there, you might recognize this place as my bedroom and my studio and my office. All three in one.
Is this where Sam usually sits for your guys'
This is
pod?
where Sam
This is
normally sits. Yeah.
And you're where the computer usually
Yeah,
is?
sounds about
Awesome.
right.
Yeah.
Well, Josh/Salvations Elite. I don't know.
Why don't Josh? Okay, so
What do I normally call you?
I don't know. A lot of different words.
We'll see how this goes. You might learn some new words.
I think a great place to get started would just be, Josh, why don't you tell our listeners and any of your listeners who may or may not trickle in,
Who
why don't you give us-
stumbled onto this episode?
Yeah, why don't you give us a little background into you, how you got to where you are, what you're doing. You can plug stuff at the end, but
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
You can plug everything you're working on.
Oh, perfect.
There's
Yes.
one for each listener.
Let's go. Well, if you are unfamiliar, I am a Call of Duty YouTuber, and that's what I do. Also, I mean,
Amongst other things,
Backseat Sports, of course, shout out. But yeah, I do love me some content, and basically anything or all things Call of Duty related, esports specifically. I'm doing content, Salvations Elite, of course. No plugs, you know. I mean, no free shout outs here. This
Plugs at
is
the
a
end.
big time
Plugs at
show.
the end. Let's keep
Yeah.
it moving.
But yeah, I just love content, and that's what I do. At the end of the day, it's straightforward as that.
Fair enough. I guess.
Yeah.
No?
So where did it all start? I mean, you didn't just wake up one day and decide I'm going to make Call of Duty content on YouTube.
Well, I saw how talented you were around like 7th grade, and I was like,
Don't lie
"Man,
to me.
I want to be like Ben.
Don't lie to me.
What? Dude, come on, man. Well, it all started because of Black Ops 2. And, well, kind of. Just because of YouTube in general. I mean, basically, the first YouTuber I religiously watched was PewDiePie, like, in 2011.
Mhm.
Like, when he had, like, 500,000 subscribers. And
You were
I
the
just, like,
OG.
I was an OG.
You were there before. it was
Too bad
cool.
he didn't make NFTs or something, because I would have been rich if I would have bought some PewDiePie NFTs back in 2011, you know? But, no, yeah, it's just like, basically I'll start with my love for YouTube as a whole, and I just wanted to do content because of Black Ops 2 and Uncharted 3 and FIFA. And so kind of all started there, and I just made gameplays. I like watching myself play, because I'm a self-absorbed idiot.
Who isn't these days?
I mean,
it's okay.
True. But, yeah, so it kind of all started like that.
So you said you're Call of Duty, and then you just mentioned a couple different games. What led you into the Call of Duty content more so than like? I know you're a big fan of Star Wars. I know you just said FIFA, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
What led you into Call of Duty?
Well, I mean, basically, it just came down to that. Like when BO2 came out, at the time I was still playing like Uncharted 3 and tons of FIFA. Like I said, like FIFA 12, FIFA 13, FIFA 14. That in that like time span.
The
but,
golden days.
The golden days of FIFA, truly. But like, dude, Call of Duty. I know both of you are avid Call of Duty fans. So,
I mean, Call of Duty finest hour for the PS2. That's a real thriller.
Real thriller. But I mean, Black Ops 2, for those who are watching, is the best COD of all time. It's not even close. And so, like when BO2 came out, I started watching like, I mean, that was kind of like when YouTube was just like getting really, really interesting. Like 2013, like when the YouTubers like starting to blow up and like PewDiePie, like was hitting millions by then at that point, and like. So I started watching some YouTubers in Call of Duty, and that's when I found out about like competitive COD, and like people are like, oh wow, people are actually posting gameplays like on YouTube, like what? And at the time, that was kind of revolutionary. Like in 2013, like pre-2013, like pretty crazy for like watching content on YouTube and stuff. And so like, I was watching like Scump and Nadeshot, especially Nadeshot early on, and that's kind of like where it all began. Where I was like, I want to post, and so. I bought a really old capture card, like a Roxio game capture to capture like in 720p on my dad's laptop, and it was so bad. The laptop sucks so bad. It couldn't even record in 720p, like from COD. It was so bad. And it's like I have 2 gameplays from back in the day that I captured like using this Roxio game capture that are on Josh and Tay Games. Shout out Josh and Tay Games. And I did one video reacting to my old videos. Like this was like I don't know what I was saying. I did a video reacting to my old videos in when was that? It was in college, like 2-3 years ago. Like why did anyone who I thought on my channel actually cared about my old videos from back then? I don't know. But yeah. And
how'd
so
the videos do?
I don't think good. That I would imagine not very good. But yeah. So basically, it all started with that and just making stuff like that, and then What Does the Fox Say came out, and then I put out an absolutely legendary video. And so that was my first viral video where it had like 10,000 views. And I'm like, oh, it's possible to get 10,000 views.
I remember.
You remember where you were the first time you saw What the Noob Say.
I do remember where I was.
Yeah.
And I remember the light in your eyes from then on out.
Yeah.
Doing YouTube.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, your dad showed it in class? Oh no! Your dad, which I mean, he taught at our high school. I was in business class. I was in business class and then your dad.
Classrooms were right next to each other,
and he saw me walk in. So then he followed us in and was like, "Guys, you need to watch this."
That sounds like him.
Yeah. And so he told like the class like pull it up. So that happened. That
we were
happened.
never the same.
But shout out, Mr. G.
So this is kind of an awkward situation because not that long ago we had a podcast of hot takes between me and Phil.
Yes.
Oh, you're bringing this up.
And I just figured I should beat you because it's going to get thrown in my face. And my first hot take of the episode was basically that I don't like video games.
Yeah, and I'm a shameful viewer that I missed this part of the podcast. So I need to hear a quick summary of your reason.
It's the thing is, it's a hot take episode.
That doesn't.
It's because he gets beat every time he plays. It's because he sucks. That's facts, YouTube. Because every time I have Wiener and Woody in NFL Street 05,
hey, what?
They go to town,
Josh,
and Ferguson goes for TDs and what?
What happened the last time we played NFL Street?
Oh my!
Who won?
Who
won? Who?
You want to bring?
Granted, it was the only time I've beat you within the last like 50 times we played.
And
but who won?
We had a teammate that might have had a few drinks.
Okay, fair enough.
But might have.
I have no idea what we're even talking about. Right now.
We're talking about NFL Street on PS2, NFL Street 3 on PS2. The one Chad Ochocinco on the front. And we've come back and play this pretty often for the YouTube chat out there. And I did a video on my channel of me, 2 videos of me playing NFL Street.
You somehow tied NFL Street into Call of Duty.
Yes,
I don't know how you did.
Right when COVID happened last year, when I was sports deprived, like in April. But anyway, long story short,
you were that sports deprived after a month.
After like 2 months, yeah, dude, come on, man. because the NFL draft got like pushed back or whatever, and it was just like
Okay.
pain.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, my point is,
Yeah. What are you
Not-
asking him? Are you
No,
asking
he's
him-
talking about why
I
he
was
hates video
bringing it
games.
up. No, I was bringing it up as part of another point, but then you asked me why I don't like
yeah.
video games.
Yeah.
It's not a matter, I would say, of like, I'm opposed to them or despise them. I just didn't play them / don't play them as much as other people. My development stopped and currently sits at the PlayStation 2
Battlefront 2.
console.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
his hot take was just that he just doesn't play video games.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like video games
Pretty
are
spicy.
dumb. Video games are overrated. It was just I don't play video games.
Yeah.
That was what he opened with.
Oh my word! No way.
Anyway, my point was I wouldn't say I'm terribly literate or knowledgeable when it comes to this type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the beginning of Call of Duty, that was what, like almost 2 decades ago.
Yeah, the first Call of Duty.
Right,
Yeah.
What's changed between then? I guess obviously always been a popular franchise, but what's changed between then and now that now it's something where you can like make content for it and follow it and treat it almost like, I don't know, like a sport or like an event that
Right.
you
I mean,
follow.
obviously, like I'm on the esports side,
right.
the esports side of things, so it's a little bit different with like, versus like
So why don't
playing
you?
pubs.
Yeah. Why don't you explain a little bit about what esports is to those who may not know?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So just like MLG, all
Yeah,
that, like,
of course.
whatever you need to.
I mean, at the end of the day, esports is just competitive video games. I mean, like people get all tilted, like esports is sport. Who cares? It's competitive, and you win a lot of money doing it, and people really like watching it. So I mean, it's about as close to a sport as it gets, and it's extremely taxing on people. But that's a whole different discussion. At the end of the day, like it's just competitive video games, and you're playing as a team in games that are like team based, or you're playing individually. And like in COD, it's team based. And I mean, like originally, to go to your question, originally it was kind of like the development of Call of Duty. I mean, like it was originally like a story game. Like you had
Right.
a story game, where you're playing a campaign, and like you're not trying to play multiplayer. Like so, at the like COD 2 was kind of like the first COD where multiplayer became a thing, where like, some people played online. But then like COD 3 was sort of a thing. COD 4 was like when it exploded. And it was like COD 4 Modern Warfare had the first score streaks in the game. So that was innovative. And the multiplayer maps were very much built for like a very like competitive environment, creating like free-for-alls and all that type of stuff. And S&D. So COD like did a lot of that.
I know what that.
Yeah, search and
Search and
destroy,
Search and destroy.
baby. Search and destroy. And so it kind of like it just developed from there. Obviously Modern Warfare 2 had its Fortnite moment where it just blew up and it was the game that everyone played. I mean, back in like when we were like 8th graders or whatever.
Right.
Every cool kid played Modern Warfare 2,
I actually did play Modern Warfare.
played it at one
back
point.
then.
Let's go. See, I didn't. That's why I'm here and I'm lame. It's just as simple as that. It's as simple as it gets. I didn't play COD till BO2.
I do like the self-deprecating humor though. It's kind of a on-brand thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
I
gotta
watch
stay
it.
on brand here, I mean, that's how it goes. But yeah. So then, like MW2 was really innovative in the fact that like the balancing of the weapons and like the map pool was so large for that game, and how you could trick shot and all the different things that kind of came into play for Modern Warfare 2, and then the Black Ops 2, where obviously you have Modern Warfare 3 in there, but no one cares, and Black Ops 1's fine, but I just insulted like tons of people who love those games.
They won't listen.
Yeah, but then in the BO2, like competitively, you that's like when competitive COD really took off in BO2, and that was kind of a culmination of YouTube and implementing Hardpoint into competitive COD, and like the mix of just all the personalities kind of growing at once, like where you had some of like the most toxic people in esports at the time, like Parasite and Killa, mixed with the most like entertaining people in esports at the time with Nadeshot and Scump, and you created this like really cool vein of storyline that like like in a lot of ways, Call of Duty is kind of seen as like in a non-staged way, like the WWE of esports when it comes to like drama fuels the attention in a lot of ways. And so that was kind of like how it all started in the beginning, was that the drama and like the rivalries really funded, or like really like like inspired the fandoms of these teams, as well as the YouTube audience. I mean, Scump had insane viewership during BO2, and so did Nadeshot, like on their videos, like millions of views for like random videos. So it's great. So back then, I mean, that was kind of like what all got it going, and then as those personalities found their audiences, that just inherently garner the audiences for competitive COD, and then you have hundreds of thousands of viewers, following competitive COD. So, and then it kind of just developed since then into what can be audience on the casual side, which has really developed since Modern Warfare 2, like online in like it went from like trick shotting and all that to like live commentaries and like during Black Ops 2 was like the era of live comms where you are doing a commentary video about something while at the exact same time playing. Like you're like, today we're talking about this topic, but I'm also playing right now, versus like having the gameplay and then talking over it afterwards. Like, this is what's happening, and now I'm talking,
Right.
And so there's kind of like that divergence there, and then obviously content's evolved like crazy since then. But I mean, that's kind of like the basis of it now. Now we're in the era of challenges and things like that. But yeah, as a whole, it's just like those storylines is what garners the difference between like esports content versus pubs content, and then that drama and that collision with YouTube content has fueled competitive COD ever since, really, into viewership.
Well, what's
Answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting to me is, like you say the word esports, but that's not just like a metaphor or something. Like, it's actually something now where you can watch it. Like people have fans, like you have individual.
Oh
people
yeah, and there's so many games,
and there's strategy you can talk about, and like a big part of what your content is like breaking it down.
Yeah.
As like a sports analyst would.
Literally.
So like, how did you like grow into that? Was that an approach where you're like, this is something new I could try, or is that something that just like kind of flowed naturally with how it was developing?
Well, I mean, for me, it was definitely like a combination of what I loved. Like, I mean, in high school, I wanted to go into the NFL and do like
Be a quarterback for the New England Patriots.
Obviously, I was the next heir to Tom Brady. I mean, that was just facts. Although I would have been a little bit past my prime by the time Brady retired. I mean, even now. Yeah, it's just crazy. Like, I mean, high school, I wanted to go in the NFL and do like general manager, front office like stuff, like scouting or whatever it was. It's like the scouting translated perfectly into Call of Duty. Like, it's the exact same thing. You're finding the strengths and the weaknesses of players, breaking down what makes a player good, what makes a player not good, where certain players are really good, where certain players aren't. And like all of those things translate perfectly in esports, especially in Call of Duty with how it plays and based off game modes and how they play with like communication and the different strengths those players have inside gun skill and map awareness and all these different random skills that make a player so good. That's all kind of part of that. And it really flowed for me personally, really simply into like, I love breaking down football. I also love breaking down Call of Duty and the pro side of things. So I really started watching competitive COD at the end of BO2 because of like Nade Shot. So, and then ever since then, since 2013, I've always been about, learning what makes a player great.
How is there like anyone else doing close to like what you're doing, or did you like slide into
a niche?
Like, yeah, like something. There's like
what's your competition looking like?
Yeah.
Well, so there's always, there's a industry debate as to whether or not that was a mall cop reference. If y'all were, of course, for you movie lovers out there, the best movie of all time, Mall Cop.
Leave a comment in the chat if you want us to floodlight Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Oh my word!
With Josh. Josh will come back on for this.
Oh my gosh, yes, please.
Be here all night.
Yeah, we won't do it right now.
Still got the baggies.
That would be like similar to The Emperor's New Groove, where I would just be quoting the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like we would not get anything done.
No.
We'll add that to the list, though.
Absolutely nothing. But yeah, that's got to happen. Also, bring me on for when you review Anchorman 2, or both Anchormans, because I am all in on that as well. But eventually down the road.
Please?
Yeah.
Why are you asking me?
I'm Ron Burgundy. No, but what was I saying?
Stay classy, San Diego.
Stay classy, San Diego.
About, whether you slid into a niche.
Oh yes.
Or if you.
Yeah, industry debate.
Yeah. Okay. So there's been a debate in the industry whether security guards or not
just recycles into more public.
That's where we're headed. I mean.
Yeah. Fun fact for you. No, but kind of the industry debate, is like the two guys that come to mind for a lot of people is like myself and Tactical Rap. So Tactical Rap, the mortal enemy of SalvationsElite, is
I've all heard about it.
But he does news. Like I do news, and I used to do a lot more news. So like my channel I guess we can sort of dig into the content a little bit here. My channel is like a mix of tips. It's a mix of breakdowns. It's a mix of predictions. A mix of like
Rankings,
reactions. Like it's a very like diverse like genre of like types of YouTube videos, and like news is part of it because I mean the podcast we have the news of the week every week, which is
this guy also has a podcast.
I do have a podcast,
Case,
which
so
I mean
mentioned that.
looks pretty familiar here. But yeah, no, it's so I mean it's just very different. So I guess to answer your question specifically, originally the thing that nobody was doing that I saw on YouTube was strictly breaking down, using pros as the examples for tips videos. So like, how do you get better based off what the pro does? You know, and like so I call it learn from the pros, and that was kind of like my series that I've done for the past 4 years now since the end of BO3 or the beginning of IW, basically. 20 well. As a COD person, we talk in COD years, not in in actual human years.
It's like the whole dog years.
Yeah, it's like 2017 is IW, you know, but you know, I was, you know, a junior in college or a sophomore in college in IW. That's kind of how I see it, not in 2016. But yeah, so it like back then nobody was really doing any type of like pro example or like this is the pros, like this is how this works. So in that sense, I definitely like fit into that niche of like this is my thing, like breaking down how pros play. But I mean, tons of people were doing like tips videos at the time. So it's just kind of like a different way to like deliver the tips videos, or like in my head, it was to create a level of trust with the viewer. Like, oh, like why should I trust this guy? He's just some random dude on the internet who sucks at video games. He's terrible. So it's like,
are you saying you suck at video games?
Yeah. At the time, I was absolute trash. I'm still like, I'm like a half the trash now. But like we got self-deprecating humor, yeah. But
I just like the analogy. I'm only half the trash now.
Yeah, and so it's like, for me, it was like, why? I was looking at myself like, do I watch people who aren't pros who like to tell me how to play? Not really, not really. So it's like, if I'm gonna have people want to watch me, I need to like reference how the pros play. So it's kind of like an obvious thing for me is like, I just want to like have some credibility, and my credibility is that I can break down how the pros play. And then tell you what they're doing, and you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's what they're doing. Like that makes sense. Now I need to do it." You know, versus like just coming up with tips on my own.
That has to take an insane amount of just knowledge about what you're doing. Because when I just watch gaming like that, I'm so lost. What is going on? If I try to play, it's terrible. I have no idea what's going on.
I mean, that is something that like since now I play so many video games or like play COD, specifically COD, so much. It's like. It's for me. It's like onboarding video games is so easy. Like going on to a new game is like literally it's the same thing. Like every game's the same. Like every first person shooter is a first person shooter.
Right.
So I definitely lose sight of the fact that like for a new viewer, it is insanely confusing. Like if you were to sit down and watch a COD League event right now, you'd have no clue what's happening.
Which like the same way that like someone who's never seen a basketball game would have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, exactly. But it's like it's so hard to like understand from like our perspective because like you watch a basketball game, you know what's happening in the basketball game, you know. So that is an interesting like kind of like aspect of it though. But yeah, heck yeah.
Looking at me like I have all the answers.
No, okay. So Josh, you have a depth of knowledge in a lot of categories that I don't know a lot about, which is why I thought you'd be a fun guest to have on.
Very fun.
And so you said earlier in the pod, you said that YouTube really started to change around 2013.
Yeah, that was the first big change.
Well, one of the things that changed about YouTube in 2013 was I stopped getting on YouTube.
Oh wow, really?
So,
that was
now
it.
We know the side
YouTube knew it was like Phil's not on YouTube. It's over.
So
it's done.
One of the things I really wanted to hear from you today was about the current status of YouTube, like the state of the union for YouTube, as told by Josh Roloff.
Interesting.
Sorry, SalvationsElite.
Oh, they know my name. It's my Instagram handle. Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah. I mean, first of all, in 2013, the difference what happened then was that YouTube shifted from like basically just views, like how many views are you getting, and the more views it got, like that's why it was the age of the viral video because it was like a snowball. Like if it got lots of views, it got a lot more views. And it was very different than what it is now. So then like in the 2012, 2013 times, it switched to like a watch time viewership. And so like YouTube cared about keeping viewers on the site. That's all they cared about. And so gaming videos, gaming channel stuff like Black Ops or COD or what PewDiePie was doing, playing like Happy Wheels and Amnesia with like 25-minute videos was insanely good for YouTube because, you know, keeping a person on the website for 25 minutes was like a huge dub for YouTube at the time. And so they promoted the crap out of those types of videos and everyone watched them. And so like at the time, you know, PewDiePie was getting millions and millions of views per video, like as many as he's getting now basically back in 2013. Mm-hmm. Because of like how, and like, so he went from like a few million subscribers to like 20 million in like a span of like a year or two. It was insane. And so like that was kind of like the rise of like, you know, watch time. As things progressed, it kind of changed. And then we had the era of like the thumbnail basically, where it just came down to like, you know, if it was like the vlogger era and it was like a whole new different take on like getting to know the person that you were watching versus like just the funny side of them or whatever it was. And then so we had like Logan Paul, Casey Neistat of like the 2015 to 2018 type vibe. And now we're in the era of like a much more like methodical YouTube. And it comes down to subscribers don't matter. It does not matter what your subscriber count is. What matters is how many views you're getting and what you're like and how your channel, like how each individual video performs. Like realistically, subscribing to a channel doesn't really do much for you in the fact that like you're gonna actually watch their videos in the future. YouTube's determined that if someone subscribes, it doesn't really mean anything. Like they might watch more, like they're like slightly more likely to watch your videos, but like it doesn't necessarily mean that much. And so, like for example, nowadays all that matters there's basically three things. It's click-through rate, it's your watch time, which does matter, and then what the two biggest things is click-through rate and viewer retention. So it doesn't necessarily matter how long your video is. YouTube prefers if it's longer. And so like the videos, like when Mr. Beast has like a 20-minute video and the retention rate, which is how long the average user stays watching that video. If you have a really long video and a really high user retention rate plus a really good click-through rate, which click-through rate is if someone sees your thumbnail and sees your title, do they click on it? That's about it. It's as simple as that. If they see it, do they click? And if you have a really high those three things, you'll go viral. Like in theory, you know. And obviously there's limits to all those things. But like if you have a really broad, like Mr. Beast is a very broad, like anyone can watch a Mr. Beast video basically, because his whole premise is just that he gives away money. Pretty straightforward.
Who doesn't love that?
Who doesn't love that? And so, you know, Mr. Beast, it's insane. Like he'll have a 20-minute video and the average viewer retention is probably like 85% or something. Like 85% of the video will be watched by the average viewer, which is insane considering that there's like 20 million viewers, which is insane. Like that, those numbers are unattainable for the average person. And then like it's just wild from there. So he is the beast. Yeah. So the state of YouTube nowadays is it's challenges. It's go big or go home. It's the extremes on both sides. You either have to be incredibly narrow or incredibly broad. Like there's not much room for the in-between nowadays. You know, you either have to do the hour-long documentary style or you have to do the this has never been seen before on YouTube type stuff. You know,
right?
It's tough to sit in the middle. Gaming stuff, like my type of channel, is a little bit different because it's like tips and, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about providing value to the listener or to the watcher and to the clicker, whoever it is. And that looks different for everybody. But yeah, it's kind of like the current state of YouTube in that sense.
So as a creator on YouTube, with those three metrics being what pushes forward videos.
Yes.
How do you feel about it? How, as a creator and trying to get his product out there to the customer?
Well, the biggest frustration for me, like the past year and a half or two.
I don't want YouTube to get mad at you.
Oh, I mean, I love YouTube, Mr. YouTube. I love you so much. But the biggest issue for me has been like the transition from subscribers not mattering. Like where 2017, you know, when I was still doing my channel, I had a few hundred subscribers, maybe 1,000. Like, you know, a decent percentage of your subscribers watched the videos. Like if you had 1,000 subscribers, you'd have a few hundred people watching the video every single time, no matter what. So like 30 to 50% would maybe watch the video. nowadays, if you're pulling 10, 20%, you're doing really, really good for most channels. Obviously, some channels are outliers, and generally the channels that are outliers are because they have the exact same content every single time. And so right now, that's the best way to do YouTube. That's a little bit frustrating, at least for me right now, is when I mean like that you have the same thing every single time. It means that the core theme of your video is basically the same every single time. For Mr. Beast, it's the same every time. It's give money. For David Dobrik, it was 4 minutes, 20 seconds of just cut. Someone gets hurt, boom, video's done. You know, like it was really fast, really point, but it was the same thing every single time. For PewDiePie, you know, in his explosions, it was meme review. Like in the past, like 4 years, it was 3 years. It's like meme review. He had like 3 different things he did, and people just assume it's PewDiePie being satirical every single time. You know, and for Casey Neistat, when he blew up, it was like you got a vlog. Casey told a story every single time. You know, and obviously the themes have to be. It's a little bit different. Like for me, it's like you could say I'm talking about competitive COD every single time, which is, I mean, the case. But you know, like for Tactical Rap, for example, like why he does very, very well inside the COD scene specifically is because he has a news video every single time. It's him sitting in front of a camera, pressing record, scrolling through Twitter every single time. It's between 10 and 11 or 12 minutes every single time. So it's a very like fast food approach to content creation. It's
interesting.
Throwing shade.
Oh no! No, you're not saying. Five Guys is delicious.
Some people love fast food.
Five Guys
fast
is
food has
delicious.
a purpose.
Yeah. In-N-Out is an incredible restaurant. You know what you're getting every single time you go there. It's going to be really good. But sometimes you want that little extra flair. You know, you want them to pour the salt from the top. You know, like
you want to go to Olive Garden.
You want to go to Olive Garden, and that's Salvation's Elite, baby. We're Olive Garden. Woo! Yes.
You heard it
shoot for
first.
The stars.
We shoot for the stars here, and
even if you miss, you'll land it all
in Olive Garden. That's right.
That's gonna be my motto for life from now on, honestly.
And yeah, but I mean, realistically, like there is the different approaches to content creation. It is like do you want to be very consistent with what you're doing and like kind of like keeping it that way, or like you know what the viewers are going to expect every single time, or can your personality catalyst the content enough where you just being there is enough of the same thing for it to work? And that's kind of like KSI for him. His whole time, he's so funny just naturally that like the content's the same every time because KSI is in the video, because he's just that talented and that funny individually. No matter what he does, it's gonna be funny. So like it does kind of matter between, and I'm not that talented, you know. I'm like a 5 out of 10 in every single category, but being 5 out of 10 in every single category can work if you utilize the right skills or whatever. But
okay, yeah. So you talk about you've mentioned a lot of people who have like influenced you, or people who do things particularly well,
yes,
or have some kind of personality per se. We didn't prepare you for this, but if you had to make a Mount Rushmore, pick like 4 people who I'd say would influence you the most.
I have 10 Mount Rushmores.
Well, no, but you can use us as one.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, we don't watch everything. You know, that's number one. I mean, they're the George Washington of Mount Rush of the content creation.
Yeah, Mount Rushmore. 4 people.
PewDiePie, for sure. Nadeshot, for sure. KSI, for sure. The 4th spot, very tough. I mean, when it comes to YouTube specifically, I don't know how I have to include those 3, like with how the amount of content I've watched of those 3 and like their innovation and like how they've inspired like new content. For sure, those 3.
Well, even someone like me who had tuned out of YouTube as like a primary means of content intake still has a lot of memories of PewDiePie videos.
Yeah, that's like, crazy.
I remember watching Happy Wheels and that scary game Outlast he played.
Yeah.
Just watching that, like, he's great.
That's so crazy. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, and like, for those 3 specifically, I felt like I hopped on board, like, before they were, like, who they were. And it's like, I felt like it's pretty cool that, like, they ended up being so popular in that sense. But yeah, like it's like it really feels like I grew up with those 3, like literally, like
sure, yeah.
I mean, quite literally,
and that has to play into like influencing you a lot.
Oh, for sure.
You just hopped on late. It's
yeah,
like you saw them like grow and
mature. And all of them have had like legit issues with like trying to figure out what their new voice is like in the new era of YouTube. I mean, KSI right now, it works because he's just like kind of memey and just kind of does his thing, and he's making music now and doing all and like kills it with that.
I thought he was a boxer.
Well, he's also a boxer.
Everyone's
YouTube, a boxer now.
Everyone.
When are you gonna hop in the ring with Logan Paul?
I mean, I haven't already. Maybe I have already. Who knows? You know, just watch out.
Where's the footage from that?
You know? Yeah, it's coming. HBO's got a documentary coming on it, so it's gonna be good. For you movie watchers out there, it's gonna be really good. Yeah.
We've watched a movie or two.
Or maybe not. I don't know.
Not all of them, though.
But not
everything.
We've not watched all of them.
Yeah. For the fourth Mount Rushmore, there's so many guys it could be. I mean, you know, Casey Neistat, some of the other sidemen. Like just literally tons. I mean, Drifter I watched so early on. Like Good Mythical Morning, Hex. These guys are all so good. And so for a fourth, it literally feels impossible to actually like kind of like decide on one. Let's see. I can commit to. Did you guys watch any YouTube like early? I mean, besides like Julian Smith and
what more did you need?
Oh, I made this for you.
What else was there?
I don't know. That's the real question.
For me, YouTube, my early memories of YouTube weren't so much like channels or certain creators. It was like random
llamas with a hat,
right? Random little things that like someone's like, oh, watch this
Charlie the
video.
Unicorn,
right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Bread.
Watch this one thing that's funny, not like here's a person that you follow and like,
yeah,
that type of thing, right?
Yeah, so, that's crazy.
When I was on YouTube, I had a few that I subscribed to, and subscribing was a lot different back then. It was like I'd watch their videos every time they came out. Like Philip DeFranco. I don't know.
Oh, really?
I don't
Billy
know.
D.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing now.
I listen to his podcast whenever it comes out.
I always like him because he would say, "And you've been filled in." I was like, "Well, I can never use that slogan."
Yeah, literally.
And there were a few others, but he was the main one.
Probably. Oh, dang, that's cool. Yeah. Oh my word, there's so many. Yeah, I mean, I would probably say Rhett and Link. I mean, Good Mythical Morning. They're great. Oh, they're the greatest, and like they're OGs. Yeah. Like they've been here for years. So. And they've gone through music and challenges and food and every aspect of like some sort of YouTube like dynamic. I would probably say them. Otherwise, I would say Gary V because he has been making content since 2006.
Well, you only get 4, so
I mean, true.
Cut me off.
I'm chiseling another face into the.
You only get 4, right, so Rhett or Link.
Oh shoot!
Which one?
Dang it!
We're gonna split them in half.
Rhett. Okay. I don't even know which one.
Rhett's the taller one with the long hair.
Makes sense then.
Yeah. Okay, so you talked a lot about your main stuff, like your SalvationsElite channel and everything. You have some other stuff kind of going on the side though, I guess. Can you tell us about
the plug time?
It can be. What
plug it in.
Really?
What other jars? What other jars do you have your
man?
What other pools do you have your toes in?
Oh, so many pools.
How many more of these analogies can
so many pools. But obviously I do, like I mentioned, backseat sports. So that's my football like niche thing with Husker football. Rip to the Husker football. Oh my word! If you guys see in the background, Memorial Stadium right there. You know, we got Drew Brees in the background. Ben, how you feel about that?
Oh man, that's a sad day.
I know.
We haven't introduced the listeners to our fantasy football league yet.
Oh really?
But it'll come.
Of course.
Part of me is, long story short, a part of me is dead since Drew Brees.
Dude, you should review the movie Draft Day when on the weekend of the NFL draft. That'd be pretty.
I've only seen like the last 45 minutes.
Oh really? It's a pretty fun. I think I have it somewhere.
We have a mixed relationship with Kevin Costner on this.
Makes sense. Makes sense. That's fair. I mean, that's definitely deserving. Yeah. What was the question?
Backseat sports.
Oh, that's right. Backseat sports.
Yeah, what else are you doing?
So I do love backseat sports. I mean, right now, it's always been like a side passion fun thing. I mean, during the season, we actually get decent viewership on it, like a few thousand views per video. I mean, we peaked over 10,000 views for one of the videos last year.
People come together and mourn how pitiful Nebraska football is, which is amazing. We have such a ravenous, passionate fan base.
Yeah.
Mixed with the fact
that we
need to talk about how bad we are.
Yeah.
It makes for a perfect discussion topic.
If Husker football actually got back to a point where every year we knew we were winning 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games someday, that channel will be tons of fun. I think we could probably like do really well even in the off season. Like right now, if you make like a recruiting video or something like that, it'll do okay. You know, I mean, like like we have like 2.5, 3,000 subs.
See, my experience with that channel, I once Chip chimed in. You had like a live chat going during like a Q&A session, and you told, based on so I said something, and in response to it, you told your viewers to roast me in the chat, and I got absolutely eviscerated.
That was out of love. That's giving you
I got
shining a
people
spotlight.
who didn't even know me were saying
That's
the
beautiful.
meanest things about me.
Oh, that's so nice.
And it wasn't even that bad of a take. It wasn't even a take that I gave.
It was just a mild opinion.
It wasn't
Honestly,
even that.
I was actually pretty surprised how ravenous people were.
It wasn't a take. It was just a fact.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I hope. I mean, at least it left an impression. They have a good story to tell. See, I mean, otherwise you would have no story.
And I haven't gotten on the internet since.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's unfortunate, you know.
You're welcome.
Honestly,
it'd be a lot worse if you were.
It would. But yeah, I mean, backseat sports is great. I definitely love that aspect, and like, I so badly, if I could ever get to a point where like I could make 5 COD videos a week, and then 7 non-related COD videos per week, that would be the ideal situation where I have an editor where I can like really like maximize my time and like go through and make 1 Husker video per week, start a second channel where I'm talking all different things. I mean, me and Caleb started like a Star Wars channel back in about a year before, like right after a year before The Last Jedi came out, like kind of like in that time between episode 7 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a few episodes and like we actually started a podcast for it a little bit. We did 2 episodes of the podcast.
Do we want to do a review of those?
We did a draft very similar to your first episode. We did a draft where we picked.
Okay, now you're infringing on copyright.
I know.
I don't know if we should.
They're infringing on our copyright,
Yes.
even though they did it first.
That's the joke, Ben. Come on, let's roll with it.
A little slow picking.
Come on, viewers, make fun of Ben.
Come on, lay it on.
That's the greatest. That got a bigger laugh. See? Oh my word.
Got the jokes.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So we did a video. Actually, real quick, number 1 overall pick. If you were on The Bachelor and had to choose a cast for The Bachelor, who would be your number 1 pick in Star Wars? That was our draft. Creating the best cast for The Bachelor.
So you were just So you're drafting women for the show?
Well, technically it wasn't like The Bachelor. I mean, it was technically like if you were doing like a reality TV show. It was like create a cast for a reality TV show. Who would you draft? Number 1 overall. Do you have one that comes to mind immediately? I'd be interested to know. Because I would say...
Well, it depends on what the show is. Like, what's the...
It's a reality show. It's like the Kardashians. It's just like, we need some
juicy...
There's
no point.
We need some juicy drama here.
Oh, so you just want drama.
We want juicy drama. You got to build the narratives, you know?
I love Hondo. Hondo just creates...
That's the one.
Hondo just creates chaos wherever he goes and only cares about himself.
I think Dexter could create for some interesting, juicy drama. I mean, or Dexter's robot.
You want a cup of Java
Juice? I think that could be some sass necessary.
I love how much you have to read in and assume to
a reality TV
someone
show.
Who has like 30 seconds of screen time in one Star Wars movie.
that would be insane. I mean, I'm somewhere around there. That'd be pretty great.
Hondo's hard to pick against.
Yeah. Salacious B. Crumb could be a pretty interesting time.
He literally just laughs.
Exactly. He brings a lot to it. It would be like that. It's like the laugh track you need for every sitcom. But boom,
it's just him in the background.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a little too good.
I'm gonna practice it a lot in my life. But wait, who's your pick?
I'm gonna pick young Lando.
Oh, yeah, I like it. I like it.
I feel like he would play his kind of sarcastic. Like
he's also cheating in the card games. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Him and Hondo.
That's a good pick.
Would be fun to have in the same.
He'd create for some drama. I mean, I think Han would have to get picked. I mean, Han,
at some point.
Yeah, Han would definitely have to get picked. I mean, if you went if you had like Luke and Vader like in the same, that could be pretty interesting. What about you have Mace Windu and Vader in the same house? That would create for some juicy drama. Boba Fett and Mace Windu in the same house.
That's not even a reality TV show. That's just a battle royale.
Yeah, true. But I don't know. It could be pretty interesting. But yeah, that was our first episode of
Obi-Wan and Cody
of Star Wars study. And my first video on that channel was that my original theory was that the Knights of Ren would be like the overarching bad guys and betray Kylo, but obviously instead they got wasted away.
Pretty much nothing.
Yep. Yeah. So good stuff there.
Yeah.
But
we don't have to talk about this.
No, definitely not. But yeah, definitely. So I guess that's kind of that aspect of content. Besides that, I mean, like I definitely want to keep like doing podcasting. I think there's still so much more room for more podcasting because it's like such a fun vein of like content, like sitting down, like having a topic, and at least how we do our podcast. I mean, maybe in the future you guys do more like a segment based podcast with like tons like of drops and.
He's trying to make a
themes.
structure.
You got some structure with this thing. It could be crazy, dude.
Who needs
That's
that?
all I'm saying. I don't know. It could be interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of fun opportunity for content moving forward, and
He's just shaking his head over here.
the Gary
We have a very strict routine of not having a routine, and you're not going to mess it up.
I mean,
the only time we see each other is Thursday night.
Yeah,
we don't get together to work on that.
That's the beauty. And I don't know. I love the aspect of content creation, and like, I mean, I can't put any better than Gary Vee. He's like, it's basically the Wild West of the 21st century. It's you stake your claim on this digital land and this attention. The attention is the land, and it kind of feels like the early 1800s, kind of like trying to stake your ground in the West, like finding the real estate while it's cheap, and they kind of that sense, and the attention is up for the tanking right now out there in the world. So I love me some content.
Me too.
Heck yeah, baby. Yeah.
Well.
I can go on all day. I mean, I think we're not even the halfway point, right?
Well, how long have we been recording?
Like 40 minutes, 47 minutes. Yeah. We're chilling.
We've usually started fighting with each other by now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would make sense.
The lack of structure kind of leads into just whatever.
A spiral.
Either that or someone's just said something so stupid that the other person wants to stop talking.
Well, we've done a decent job of that so far.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you mentioned a few of the.
I was gonna come in with another left hook there. I couldn't.
No, I want to hear it. What was it?
I mean, Ben hasn't talked in a while, so. I mean, guys, give Ben all the gas because he's the greatest.
Man, just stop.
It's getting worse. All right.
So,
what's up?
Future episodes to have you back on for. We're gonna floodlight.
Oh my word! Yes, please.
What else do you want to come back on for?
Definitely, like I said, the Anchormans for sure.
Anchormans, okay.
Anything Star Wars, I'm there.
Okay.
Anything Star Wars.
We definitely have not done our last Star Wars podcast.
We could do. We're thinking about some potential Star Wars drafts in other contexts, maybe, right? Like,
ooh,
what does that mean?
Oh,
like a different sport, perhaps.
Oh,
that doesn't feel inspired.
I'll take Jabba Barge Leia. Oh, is that not what you meant? Okay.
Oh man. Moving on.
That was a joke. Okay, YouTube, jeez. Oh my word. Okay, I'll come on for anything Marvel. I'm also there. I'm also there for anything Marvel.
We definitely have Marvel episodes coming on in the future as well.
Yep. Especially if you're talking Marvel TV shows. 'Cause I love all of those, except for the good ones.
You love all of them except for the good ones?
No, except
all of them.
Except for Iron Fist.
Oh yeah, the Netflix shows.
Yeah. And
so are those shows are those officially part? So those are canon.
Yeah,
like those characters that exist in
the rumor is Daredevil's going to be in the next Spider-Man.
Oh man, I would love that.
Yeah, and like supposedly Charlie Cox, the actual actor,
I like him.
Is going to be in Spider-Man.
I thought he was a good Daredevil. I'd support that.
It's Charlie Cox, right? I'm not going crazy. It's Charlie something, I think.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Okay, yeah, I think.
Sorry, Charlie.
Something like that. Shout out.
Charlie's gonna write in angrily.
Go to Daredevil. I'm the only listener, man. Come on, dude. Bro, I know I wear the mask and everything, but like, dude, can't you just figure it out? No, but yeah, at the same time, bro.
I'm losing my mind over here.
Besides Anchorman and Mall Cop, what else?
What else is there?
I know
Gladiator. I'm there.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
I'm there for Gladiator.
I'm there.
Yeah,
I know it's much easier for you to come onto our podcast due to the content topic.
Yes,
but
it would be.
We're
funny.
here for it. If you ever want to have us on your Call of Duty.
Perfect. Yes. Once the Call of Duty,
people are gonna pull up one of your videos one time, and it's just gonna be us like, YouTube, what is going on? This is your boy SalvationsElite, but it's not actually.
When an official Call of Duty movie comes out, I'll have you guys on. We'll talk about it.
I feel like it's got to happen at some point.
There's rumors that it's happening.
They made a Halo movie, didn't they?
That's rumored that there's originally a Halo movie, I think, and then there's another one supposedly happening. The Last of Us movie's actually happening.
Oh,
officially.
We should do that.
And that cast is sick, and there's other gaming movies coming out too that are gonna be really, really interesting too. So, the Uncharted movie's coming out.
Tom Holland.
I'm there if we talk about that because that'll be sick. I mean, like I said, I love Uncharted. That was the first game I ever posted a YouTube content on. Is the Gmaul overpowered? I don't know. Is it?
I think you have to watch the video to find out.
I think it's 4. Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
That's one of the most fun games I've ever.
Really?
Yeah. I loved getting it.
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, that campaign was sick. It was really, really good. I'll be so interested to see what Naughty Dog does moving forward with their video games, but it's crazy. Yeah, the last movie is going to be really, really interesting with how that plays out, and it'll be really, 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 really cool. But yeah.
Well, I suppose before the podcast evolves too much, we should take a little break and come back with our first ever special guest, WAYWA.
Woo!
You want to take this one?
You said that last time. You said at the beginning of this episode, and then you just took it.
Let's do it.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome back to the We Don't Like Everything podcast.
Yes!
We're back, as we teased earlier, back with our first ever special guest, WAYWA. Whenever we have special guests, we think it would be fun if we had them do the WAYWA. So Josh,
what are you watching?
What are you watching?
Man. So I was thinking about this because I'm like, this is a lot of pressure. I was like, oh goodness, what am I supposed to say? The first guest, WAYWA, I don't know. And I mean, obviously, WandaVision was awesome. I just finished, so technically I'm not watching that anymore. But WandaVision was dope, and I know you guys talked about that last.
Because he's a friend of the pod.
Big brain. And that was sick. I mean, blew away all my expectations. Expectations were way low. It was sick. So WandaVision, 10 out of 10. What I'm currently watching, and I've been kind of working my way slowly through it, is actually Westworld, which has been awesome. Shout out TVC for telling me I need to watch this. Probably 3 years ago. And I'm like, you have to watch this. It's totally your show. I'm like, okay, I mean, one day I'll watch it. And here I am.
All right, so we're watching Westworld.
Yes, Westworld.
Where are you watching it?
HBO. It is HBO exclusive.
All right. What do you like about it? Would you recommend it?
I mean, for sure. I'm through 1.5 seasons or so. Just over 1.5. I think I'm like maybe a little bit more than halfway through season 2. And so I think we slightly mentioned this. You have not watched this, Ben?
I haven't, but I generally know what it is.
And you've watched a few episodes.
Maybe less than a few, but I've seen at least 2.
When did you watch these 2 episodes?
Somewhat recently.
Oh, okay.
So we're in March now. I've watched them inside the year.
Okay. Well, first, before I say my thoughts, what were your thoughts on the first 2 episodes?
It's brutal.
Yes.
But incredibly striking. I don't know why I stopped. I just got around to other things. But I'm definitely interested, and I'll keep going. It's not. I didn't stop watching because I didn't like it. It was just I had other things to get to.
Dude, Westworld. I didn't actually expect the brutality of Westworld.
There's even right away, like it gets pretty vicious.
I mean, for those of you out there, the premise of the show is that people have figured out a way to create, androids that are basically as human-like as. I mean, real humans are playing as the androids. Like they are as human-like as possible, and obviously, like because they're not actually human, like in the show, like they're just like cutting them open and like doing work on them, like they're not. It's like it gets very gruesome, and so if you're watching this, it's like it's not ideal to watch while eating, Though I normally do watch while eating.
He's tougher than tougher than
I literally
different.
There's the wow. Okay, I'm eating over here for a second. Moment on the show. But the premise is just really, really cool. I think it's kind of like an exploration into like the whole premise of the show. It's kind of like, what do humans do when there are no consequences? When they truly believe nobody's watching them, and like there are no consequences to what they do because these are androids. They're not really humans. Like they can kind of do whatever they want to them and like whatever they want with them, or in this world based off the story that these people have created. So the whole premise of the show is that rich people go to this place called Westworld. And they take a vacation there to kind of live the life they've always wished they could live in this free world away from all responsibility with the androids that go in time loops. So the same story over and over that they live through. And it's kind of like a story of consciousness and like what is life? It's kind of like the whole like Black Mirror, very similar conversations of like where's the line of living and not living, and what does it mean to be conscious, and all that type of stuff is really, really cool. And the whole premise of the show is just really, really dope. I mean, it's definitely like a beautiful looking show and really well shot. And I think the characters are awesome. And there's the amount of times you're like, pause. I think this is what just happened. I need to think about this for a second. Maybe go back and watch to make sure I didn't miss it. And like, I really like the show keeps you thinking and on your edge, and you're never exactly sure if it's going to go left or if it's going to go right. And that's why I really like the show. I think it's been really, really cool. And Westworld is a worthy watch.
I've heard the word mind-blowing a lot. It's the most consistent thing I've heard about it.
Yeah. It definitely puts you on a roller coaster ride, and like it'll make you think you know what's going on. And then it's like, no, you don't. Right. So it definitely takes a few. For me, it was like I wasn't totally sold on Westworld after the first 2 or 3 episodes. I was kind of like, I mean, this is pretty good.
It's even better.
I think it's better. I think the second half of season 1 is like, wow, that is insane. And so I think the last like few episodes of season 1 were like some of the best TV show I've ever seen. And yeah, so definitely really good for sure.
Well, all right.
Well, we didn't do this at the end of the last segment.
Oh yeah,
plug away.
Wait, we gotta do the scoreboard.
Well, okay.
Right? You want me to do the scoreboard or not?
Yeah,
scoreboard update.
So the We Don't Watch Everything WAYWA scoreboard.
Okay.
So this is we started tweeting about it last week, but we want to introduce the pod. Basically, when we're gonna split it up, not sure how many we'll do.
Yeah.
Do it by seasons, basically.
Ooh, very fun.
And so we want to do the scoreboard to keep track of what streaming site has the most of our attention. Most of our attention.
Right. Yeah.
So after you just plugged HBO Max, the scoreboard is now updated to Netflix is in the lead with 3 WAYWAs.
Okay.
And then HBO Max is in second with 2. And then Hulu, Amazon Prime, and Disney Plus are all tied with 1. So still early on. HBO Max just made up a ton of ground.
Right. Yeah.
With the 1 on Netflix. But that is where our WAYWA scoreboard lies now.
Very fun.
So, yeah.
All right. Well,
let him plug his stuff.
Plug away.
Oh.
Yeah, give us some plugs.
Well,
you got a YouTube channel, you got a podcast, you got a sports network.
SalvationsElite on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook. You're still there. Instagram, Josh.rolloffs. Simple as that. Backseat Sports on YouTube. BS Sports, YT on Twitter. Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports podcast on the SalvationsElite YouTube channel. Also on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Also, Best of 3 Pod on Twitter. Follow us there. We do giveaways. We do fun stuff there. Very fun. And I think that's about it. But TikTok, SalvationsElite.
You have a TikTok?
Rareable, SalvationsElite. Audius, SalvationsElite. And other NFT sites, SalvationsElite.
All right, one last question that I forgot to ask earlier that I want to close out with. Sports cards or Top Shot?
In what sense? Well,
the present tense.
I do love sports cards. It's behind me. I don't think you can see it. You can't see it here, but behind me, I have plenty of sports cards, and in boxes in different places in the room, I have plenty of sports cards. I love sports cards. The future of NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and the future of like blockchain technology is beyond interesting to me. And I truly think that like NFTs, it's gonna be something that we will all be talking about and using for the next infinite amount of time. Like it's here to stay, and it's going to be a technology that we use for eternity. And like it's gonna be implemented even faster than like what like Bitcoin or like actual tokens themselves are being implemented because it's just a lot easier to do inside the collectible space and the art space and the music industry and things like that. So for me, like cards are awesome, and it's really, really cool to hold a Tom Brady, Randy Moss, and Lawrence Maroney triple patch from 2008, a year where Tom Brady tore his ACL. It was probably why it was cheaper. But Top Shot is like extremely interesting. I mean, the idea that you can monetize highlights, and like people are always like, but you can't hold it in your hand. You can't actually. It's not physical. But like the thing is,
that's exactly how
it's actually a tokenized. It is tokenized. It's basically it's as physical as a digital item can be. It's unreplicable. Every time a highlight goes through the blockchain, it is unreplicable. You literally cannot copy it again. And when you own it, you own it. Like if Top Shot died today, you would still have your moments. Like if the site disappeared, you could still access your moments. And so like that gets really, really interesting as well. And this is only the first 2 months of Top Shot of NFTs being like a thing in the public. Like they've been existing for quite a few years now, but like in the public sense, a few years, or a few months. And so the future is really, really interesting. I saw some digital frames that like they just announced their partnership with Top Shot. And so like you'll be able to like display your moments directly on these digital frames, probably like $100 or something, like where you can like shift what moments you have and like show them at different times, whatever. And that'll be really, really cool. And like they're set up a pretty cool way. I'll probably buy one. But like the future of NFTs is really, really interesting. And so in the long term, if I'm looking like in the eternal sense, I want NFTs and I want Top Shot. The problem is there's definitely more inherent risk with like what the site could look like over the next 10 years. Sports cards, you know what you're getting. And there's always going to be a place for sports cards, just like there's always going to be a place for like comic books and things like that. But in the long term, I mean, people care about what's in the present, and what'll be in the present is NFTs over the coming 30, 40 years. So that's why I'm all in on Top Shot, and it's been a blast so far the last 2 months. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens the next 6 months to year to 2 years to 5 years to 10 years in the NFT non-fungible token space with sports cards collecting. Music is going to be so fun, and investing in your favorite artists is going to be like a legit thing where you will literally be the investors for up and coming bands. Like that is what will happen, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm very much looking forward to the future of NFTs and Top Shot and sports cards. And that's my way too long answer for that question.
Well, we made it. That's the last sneak up on your question I had. We made it to the end of our very first special guest episode. Thank you so much to SalvationsElite.
Have you watched Justice League?
I've seen the first hour.
Oh,
I watched it in between work meetings today, and I didn't have a chance to. I'll probably go home and that's
what next week's episode is. Justice League. Then
you can't, please. It'll be discussed.
I'll have to watch it within the next few days for sure. But yeah.
But yes, thank you for tuning into another episode of the We Don't Watch Everything podcast. Good luck on your journey to watch everything. Have a good night, everybody.
Let's go.